Welcome to today's episode of Design Your Life. Today I catch up with one of my best mates and seriously talented artist, Dion Horstmans. Tune in as we chat about how he found his safe space, immersing himself in his art to escape his violent upbringing, his incredibly positive outlook and work ethic, and how kettlebell training with a group of guys has transformed both of our lives. You got your arms crossed, are you feeling uncomfortable?
No, I feel great.
Okay, good. Hey Dion, welcome to Design Your Life. How you doing?
Good, thank you, Vince. How are you doing?
Really good. It kind of feels a bit funny, doesn't it? We're good mates for about a year and a half now, and it feels funny to be in this kind of slightly more formal environment. Cameras in front of us, microphones in front of us.
Arms crossed.
Arms crossed.
Arms crossed.
Slightly apprehensive.
Slightly.
As I said, I've known you for a year and a half, and you kind of like saved my life in some way. We'll go into that later. But you and I do kettlebells together in Bondi, and you started that a while back, and it really has changed my life. And thank you for that from the outset. Thank you for that.
That's a total pleasure. Thank you. You know, it's you guys have been a massive part of my life. So I did it. It's through necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people have this similar needs, which is really, really cool. You're a phenomenal artist, based out of Bondi. You're a Bondi icon. Everyone who ever mentioned Dion, they say, "Oh yeah, he's a Bondi icon." And I took the piss out of you when I first met you for a while. They're calling you the icon, but you are. I mean, just through you're always being there.
I've been in Bondi for a long time. I've got two young daughters. They've grown up there. You know, so I would have. And I've done a lot of running in the sand. So
yeah,
over the years.
And you love the sun. You love the beach.
Love the sun. Love the beach. Love the ocean.
Yeah.
Definitely part of my life.
Which is what is magical about Bondi. When I first came there from London 25 years ago, I think it was the first time I went there. I was like, oh my God, this is an incredible place. The energy, and the realness of it too, because it's still very. All the buildings are quite raw.
Yeah, now I see that, but when I first got there, it was a miserable, overcast day, howling on shore. I was like, what's all the hype about? This is shit. You know, this place is shit. Horrible, ugly buildings. Yeah. You know, a road through the middle of it, parking right on the beach. I was like, I don't get this at all. And then the sun came out, and I was like, wow. Yeah, on the beach, looking at the bay, it's amazing. Yeah, it really is.
But you're originally from New Zealand.
Yeah.
How did you end up in Bondi?
By plane.
No, Jesus. Just don't take these questions so literally, okay? You need to expand on
this.
By
the 380. I took the 380 from the junction. No,
that's that then. That's a wrap, guys.
That's a wrap. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's all. Thank you. It's how did I end up in Bondi? I'd met some people through default, really. I'd met a guy called Peter Broadman in Bali, and he was in Bondi at the time. I went down there to see him, and then I met another guy. I met a whole bunch of different people. It's just kind of it gravitated towards the ocean or back to the ocean.
Yeah. Well, you're not a surfer, are you? You didn't go there for surfing.
No, I didn't go there for the surf.
But just tell me a bit about your life growing up between New Zealand and Cook Islands.
New Zealand and the Cook Islands. I went out to the Cook Islands when I was 4, I think, to my cousin's funeral. We went out there by boat. It was really strange, actually. I was on the boat. You know, every time we went to the mess, the dining room, if you like, there was this big bulkhead in the window that I saw. It was actually the onboard crane, and I always thought we were on the dock. We were still at the dock.
Oh my God!
Because this crane was always there. I was like, wow, why is it so rocky here? I was like, but it's the Cook Islands are amazing. I learned how to swim and climb trees and fish and spearfish, and it was great. It was a really. I went out. My uncle and auntie brought me up out there. It was really a very special time. It was beautiful.
And how has that influenced you today and in your artwork and everything?
The Cook Islands, there's a lot of, I mean, for me, it was a really happy place. So, the shells and the pandanus and the breadfruit and those repetitions in nature, the patterns in nature, they've resonated with me as much as the patterns in the maraes in New Zealand, which is all diamonds and triangles, red, black and white, really bold, strong colours. Mm-hmm. The Cook Islands, they also do this thing called quilt. They have these quilts. They're really beautiful, graphic, colourful art, if you like, that their art per se would be, is the quilting. They don't really have tattoos. They don't really have much else. They took to Catholicism like ducks to water.
Well, this is your workshop just nearby, Leichhardt, right?
Yep.
And your work is incredibly graphic.
Yeah.
And I guess where did that come from? Because you're you're prolific. You just keep doing, making all the time. But everyone's different.
It all feeds off each other. I suppose the idea, it's more about the doing of it. The making of it is just I'm into the process. I like the making, and I'm kind of constantly thinking. So I constantly wanted to create. And while I'm making this piece, I'm thinking, because making this piece, the actual grind of making this piece is cut steel, weld it, grind it. But my mind is part of most of it's hyper focused on what I'm doing, because otherwise I'll lose a finger or an eye. But the other part is what if I do this, or how do I do that? How do I twist this, or what happens if I go over a corner, or so it's constantly trying to evolve.
And it's interesting. We met through, I saw on Instagram your artwork, and because again you're prolific on that as well.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with one of your smaller pieces, a little blue piece and an orange piece. But it did something about your work. It seems like everybody wants one, and it's very, in a way, it's you see in a lot of people's homes and on buildings and commercial buildings and things like that as well. Even the massive one we'll talk about later in Melbourne, which you've done too. But it's interesting how you kind of keep reinventing that.
Yeah,
you haven't just done one.
No,
you've done probably thousands of them over time.
Thousands, yeah. But that's what happens. Like I said, it's about the process of creating, and I'm constantly wanting to recreate or create more new, evolve, make larger, make smaller, be more dynamic, contain. It's also about being relevant. You kind of, if you're in everyone's home, then no one else wants the same piece that's on your wall. So they want something slightly different, or they want a version of what's on your wall.
Yeah.
And then you've got budget, so that some pieces are budget restricted, or public artworks particularly.
Yeah. But there's a palette. You kind of, I don't know. I'm interested in how you've narrowed it down to rods,
steel,
a grinder, a welder.
It's interesting. I've been doing a bunch of therapy lately, and it's
good.
It's been very interesting. I thought I used to have this narrative around my work being based on pattern and the designs and the repetition from nature and the art, traditional island ethnographics or primitive art, which it is partially, but then through doing this therapy that I've been doing, I've worked out that it's actually as much about containing or creating this kind of safe space that I can live in.
Yeah.
It's and then all of them, they're very dynamic. They're all moving. There's all I'm go.
Yeah.
So everything's flying and moving and kind of directional. Even though I kind of feel pretty scattered, it is all directional. But the other thing is I want to be able to flip them and move them. There's not a piece that I put in anyone's home that I haven't said to them, call me back, I'll come and move it in 6 months or a year's time and just flip it around.
Yeah.
So it's constantly moving.
But I just think it's really interesting how you, when someone says to me, hey, you can just brief you and say, hey, I just want you to do whatever you want. I find that phenomenally intimidating and stressful.
Yeah, that's hard.
And I need parameters. I need to know, where it's going to go, or who the client is, or who the target audience is, or what the material colors might be. But it's really cool how you've taken those quite basic elements.
Yep. Diamonds and triangles.
You just keep reinventing it.
Yeah.
And it seems to be endless what you can do with it. And that's really cool that you've kind of narrowed it right down, but it's still broad. I think that's really cool. And we met through, as I said, through Instagram, and I bought one of your smaller sculptures online, and I was like a bit shocked when you called me up and said, "Hey, where do you live? I'll deliver it today. I'll come around now." I'm like, "Oh crikey!" You were so keen, and you put it up in my house, and you said, "Oh, You can put it this way, get that way, that way.
Yeah, take it off the wall, put it on it. Yeah,
it's all so flexible. Yeah. And one thing I was like going, wow, this guy's cool. I don't normally say this to guys. I don't normally say, you were like in shorts, it was summertime, and I said, wow, what do you do? You must work out. And you said, I do kettlebells, so come down sometime. We do a whole bunch of guys, we do it together. But I remember thinking, shit, I'm never going to go. I was like intimidated by the thought of that. It was January. It was like
it was hot. Yeah.
I went past kind of the New Year's resolution kind of period, 1st of January.
No more chocolate ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. Which I had a bit on the weekend. It's Easter.
But it comes around once a year.
Yeah, exactly. There's always something. Yeah. Every month there's some kind of form of celebration. But that, as I said earlier in the very beginning, it did transform my life around a very simple kind of coming together of a bunch of guys, 20 sometimes 3, sometimes 2, sometimes 30. Like it's just forever changing as the seasons do. It's outside. It's really, simple.
Functional.
Functional weight.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll talk more about that in a bit, but it's just like, clearly you've always been into fitness. Have you always looked after yourself and your well-being?
Yeah. I grew up. My mother, when we moved back to New Zealand from the Cook Islands, we went from Wellington to Auckland to the Bay of Islands, and up there we lived on we had a farm, and massive garden, grew everything. Had animals we'd kill and clean, break down and eat. Fished. Know how to do all that. Know how to eat well, and have always eaten well.
Yeah.
Exercise. In my early 20s, I hit the gym. I kind of wanted to put some weight on. I was about 85 kilos, and I wanted to put some weight on. And then I went for 3 years or 4 years. I trained really hard, and got up to about 120 kgs. Couldn't get any bigger unless I took steroids. Didn't want to do that. And someone turned around. A friend of mine at the time, Kate Darja, she turned around and said, "You're a bodybuilder, Dion. What do you think of this?" And I was like, "Fuck, I'm not a bodybuilder. I don't want to be seen as a bodybuilder." So I kind of stopped picking up weights, moved up to Whale Beach. Swam, ran, dropped heaps of weight again. But the fitness part is now it's a necessity. It's a two-part prong really. It's for my mind and just for that kind of it helps me. The group itself makes me accountable, but it also the training it keeps my mind sharp, if you like. And the other thing, I had an accident in my early 20s, and if I don't move, I start getting really stiff and sore. So it's easier just to keep moving and to stay light.
Yeah.
The heavier I get, the harder everything hurts, or the more everything hurts, and the harder it gets to move.
So that's through trial and error over time.
Yeah, I mean, not yes and no. We know that. Innately we know that it's good to eat good food, and we need to sleep and drink water, and we know that Coca-Cola's shit. Yeah. And McDonald's is not great for us, but it tastes good, but we know that it's not good for us.
Yeah. And you introduced me to coffee making too, which is
ECM.
So good.
The best.
My God, they're the best machines.
Yeah, the best machine.
And the best coffee. It's nice to kind of get up in the morning. I get up and meditate, and then I have a coffee, and it's really.
I get up at 5:15 and turn the coffee machine on and then stretch.
Yeah, I bet that annoys the neighbours. That banging of the coffee.
Yeah, I'd possibly. I know it wakes them up, but hey. I'm awake. Everyone should be awake.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about like your what you did before you became an artist. Like, what career did you have?
I've worked. Before art, directly before art, I was working in film. So I cut my teeth for a better term with tools and materials working in film, and I got into that. I bullshitted my way onto a job, and then. Became into. I had a hunger and a thirst to learn. So I was never been afraid to ask how to do something, and I'll listen. So I'll ask you, how do you do that? And then I'll watch and I'll listen. And if I make a mistake, I'll go, I made a mistake. Can you show me that again? And that's how I've learned how to weld, use routers, table saws, everything. Molding. But it's through film, I got that education for a better word, or for a better. Keanu walks into a room and says, "We need guns, lots of guns," and so I'm making armatures for guns, doing thousands of repetitive welds.
You kind of feel like you're like a jack of all trades kind of thing?
I know how
you better turn your hand to anything.
I know. Yeah, I know how to use my hands. I know. I make stuff. I see beautiful things or furniture or things, and I want something. I go, well, I can't afford that. I'll make something. So I'll create something for my space. I've done all sorts of things. I worked as a doorman. I've worked on fishing boats. I've swept the floor of an abattoir. As a 10-year-old kid, I'd clean people's cars and wash their cars and rummage through the central console and take 5 cents and 10-cent pieces. So as every kid, our age anyway.
Yeah. How did you get then into the art from that?
I've always done art. Art for me was a place I'd go to as a kid. I grew up in a pretty, single mum welfare family. It was pretty violent. It wasn't that stable. Art for me was somewhere I could go to. I'd draw, or I'd make clothes to my big gym, or I'd rip apart Matchbox cars and put them back together. It was somewhere I could go where I was in control, and it was a safe space.
Right.
So art's always been this place for me where I can go to it's a safe place that I know that it's a place where I know the language. It's my language. Whereas as a kid growing up, I stuttered heaps and I couldn't, I felt like I wasn't seen or heard. And, for me, getting attention was, I'd do something bad and I'd get hit. So that was the attention that I was getting. So I'd kind of lean into that. It was, but art it's been a really safe place.
What was your hair like?
Long curly, long.
I can't imagine
long curly blonde, blonde, long curly hair.
Well, but I kind of feel like there's a gap there between you saying all that and then actually making this. Yeah.
Okay, so these lineal, they're basically lineal 3D drawings of space and containing the containment of space. Mm-hmm. I worked on films for years, all the big films that came into Sydney. And then Superman came in, and after that I was jaded. I was working for two of the top guys at the time who weren't very nice humans. And, I kind of went, forget this, I don't want to work in film anymore. So I went off and started doing this full time. I got a lot of help, and a lot of people believed in me at the time, and I didn't really believe in myself that much. It's kind of or maybe I believed I believe in what I do, and I believe that that's that hunger, that drive that keeps pushing me to keep doing it. I believe it's awesome, but it's it's more of a hunger of produce, prove more, produce.
So what was your first one like? I mean, was it similar to these or small? Or
no, it was. There's nothing there that really represents what I did. They were regular shapes, let's say a honeycomb, like a cell. So they were cellular and multiple cells put together randomly.
Right.
And then through that, I've been able to kind of extrapolate these longer, elongated shapes.
Yeah. Through what? Reduction?
Light, shadow.
And you don't want to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about that, but I will talk about it.
I thought it was genius when I heard
through light, through light and through light. My work's not about facades or faces. It's more about the line, the shadow, or the light. Yeah.
But is it true that you make one and then shine a light on it from different angles and it creates the shadow?
Can we just put a big beep? Beep.
You want me to not put that? We won't put that.
No, that's totally how we do it.
That's clever.
But it's constantly, it's also how I can draw that line, the shadow of the work onto my workbench and build three-dimensionally up off that.
Yeah.
I'm really quick at it, and I innately know what's going to work and what doesn't work.
And have you ever explored other materials and other palettes and stuff, or do you stay in that lane?
I have, there just doesn't seem to be enough time and skill, the different skills. I could make any one of these two-dimensionally or folded like origami, but that's a language. It's like learning, Japanese. Yeah. It's a different language. It's kind of.
You have done some of that though, haven't you?
I have. They take me a lot longer, and It's not a familiar language. It's still volume and space, but it's just not the same.
I really
doesn't
love
have
your scribbles too.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Because they're cool.
Yeah, they're fun.
Because that breaks that kind of, I guess, more
they're
rigid.
a point. I mean, the scribbles are drawn from the points, basically. So I've just followed. I go from point, I'll come around to another point.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah, I call them point-to-point drawings.
Okay,
they're quick. They're super quick.
That.
They're super quick.
How did it take off to be kind of a fully fledged artist that then gets commissioned all the time?
Tenacity, hard work. Yeah.
Did you do the first piece and like sell it to somebody or get a gallery?
What happened was at the time, a mate of mine, Jay Harrison, was going out with a girl called Cressida Kennedy. Very clever girl. Yeah, and she saw my work and went, "You need to have a show. I'll get you into Orson and Blake." At the time, and their small gallery in their store in Surrey Hills. It's just an internal gallery in a furniture store.
Yeah, and
I had a show in there, and it was. I know a lot of people just through all the different jobs that I've had. I've done a lot of events and PR stuff and doors, and so I filled that space up really quickly. And then from there, I've kind of went from power to power and strength to strength. Although in 2013, I was like sitting at the beach with my girlfriend at the time, going, "Far out, this is really hard. What are we going to do?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know." And I'm like, "Well, let's go to India." I've never been to India in my life, and we were thinking about going down to southeast India down there, and then I got a phone call from my mate Damien. Life changed. But
expand on that.
Expand on Damien or my life changing?
Well, that opportunity with Damien King, yeah.
So Damien's the husband of Emma King. Emma's the sister of Simi. Simi, I was introduced to Emma through Simi via someone else, a guy called Todd Hammond at the time, who's no longer with us. Also a friend of Cressida's. Emma commissioned a piece for Damien's birthday. And then, so he had that in his home. He works in Melbourne. He does property development. He was doing the commercial side of property development at the time. I got a phone call from Damien going, "Hey, Dion, it's Damien." I'm like, "Damien?" He goes, "Yeah, Damien King." And I'm like, "Damien King, hi." He goes, "Emma King." I went, "Yeah, hi, hey, Damien, how are you?" And he goes, "I'm going to change your life. I'm going to make your day." I went, "Come on, bring it on. Make it. Let's go."
Wow.
And then, the next thing I'm on a private jet flying to Melbourne to meet Lang Walker. And, that was a massive turnaround for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a large scale. That's the first time you ever done your work at that scale.
Yes.
Well, how big is it?
85 meters long.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the circumference of is yellow?
The pipe is, 300, 400 in places.
Wow.
Circumference or diameter or cross.
So how did you do that? Did you do like a small version?
I got given a month to create some models or some scale pieces. So I made 40 odd pieces in a week.
Wow.
And then
only you could do that.
I got a phone call about day 9 going, how we said you had a month? Well, you've got a week. What can you do? I went, yeah, no worries. So I picked out I got them all powder coated actually, picked my 5 favourite, and then jumped on Lang's jet back to Melbourne and presented the 5 pieces. Lang said, "Which is your favourite?" I went, "This one here." And he went, "Great, meeting's over, we're done."
Wow.
Okay, Dion, you talk to them, they'll sort it out for you. I'm like, okay.
And had done them all yellow?
Yellow and white.
Right.
Yellow or white.
And they liked yellow, or was that what your favourite was, yellow?
Yellow was my favourite. I pushed my favourite.
Well, so what kind of it's interesting how these things can happen. That changed your life, didn't it?
That changed my life. Yeah.
And that visibility, a highly visible artwork in Melbourne, which is highly artwork centric.
Yeah, it is. Melbourne's an incredible city.
Amazing city. So that then lead to other opportunities in Melbourne?
I've had a pretty strong foot in Melbourne from the go-get, really, because of that. People in Melbourne have got homes and they've got walls as opposed to in Sydney. They knock out the walls, put windows in to look at the ocean.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Been pretty good. I think from Melbourne, from that one, I got another foot in the door in Sydney with Toga on Hall Street, Bondi.
Oh, recently?
Well, 2013, 2014.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that piece.
You just need to look up, mate.
Oh, okay. It's there.
It's big.
And you just recently done some with BMW in
Melbourne.
Melbourne. You've just done some
the Kingsway,
multiple pieces.
Multiple pieces. Yeah, a lot of public work that's really they're the big ticket items. Obviously residentials are your bread and butter of as an artist, as a working artist, they're your bread and butter. That's if you're turning over residential works, well, not turning them over, but creating residential works. It's they pay for the studio and they pay for materials and a lifestyle. And the public artworks are there's a lot of hoops to jump through, lots of I's and T's to cross and dot, but it's they're amazing. You get a much bigger reach.
Yeah,
it's
high visibility.
High visibility. Yeah, BMW is a fantastic opportunity, a great client to work for.
Yeah, it's one of the busiest streets in Melbourne.
Yeah, the Kingsway. It's like 1 million eyes a day.
That's
incredible.
Has the phone not stopped ringing since then?
I must have it on silent. I'm getting lots of pictures.
It's only just launched. It was funny though when you talked about, well, maybe I don't want to create that situation where people, to make them obviously thief-proof or graffiti-proof.
Yeah, well, you
don't think about that, do you? Like,
no.
How do you put it high enough up that someone
if you're
can't
thinking
get it?
about public artwork and you're thinking about, if you're thinking about OH&S, you'd be making like a green soft tennis ball. It's about the only thing that's going to comply to everything and everyone.
Yeah.
It's
you have incredible energy, incredible passion. One of the nicest guys I've ever met. You kind of at odds with what people initially think when they meet you.
Yeah, I'm big and bald and scary looking with a heavy brow and kind of a shaven head.
Yeah, no, you're the most friendly guy I know. What do you think that energy creates? Because you do have a lot of good things happening. I know things anybody can be up and down, but you seem to have this you're moving forward at like this huge rate.
Turbo speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got two speeds on off. I think because I have a heavy brow and bald head, and I'm quite pensive looking, and it could be taken as looking quite aggressive. The first thing I'm going to do is smile, stick my hand out, and say, "Hi, I'm Dion."
Yeah.
Which gets me in trouble sometimes because I've said it to the same person maybe 10 times before, and I don't remember but I'm meeting people all the time. It's kind of, and unless you're as are you, if you meet someone once every 3 years, you're going to reintroduce yourself. But that's my go-to. Hi, I'm Dion. I stick my hand out and smile.
Yeah. And do you think that positive energy in life creates positive outcomes or positive?
Well, I mean, if you smile at someone, and say hi, and kind of, especially if you look like I do, it disarms them a little bit.
Well, you don't. You're a handsome chap. You're handsome.
Well, no, but I'm a big aggressive looking. I can be. It could be taken as aggressive.
You seem to missed out in your job descriptions here that you're a modeling career as well. You didn't.
No,
mention
I didn't.
That.
I was more. I didn't. I modeled some underwear once.
What?
Yeah.
Well, I saw you in a magazine recently.
Expensive watches, Icon. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was cool.
My friend Kim Payne.
Nice clothes and everything.
Yeah, high-end luxury clothes that I wouldn't wear, but hey, cool boots.
Yeah, really
expensive watches.
So just kind of like, what drives you then? Like to do it's almost like you're living multiple lives at the same time.
Yeah,
sometimes you see people who are just kind of casually kind of going forward. You're like literally like a Formula One racing car.
Yeah, I mean,
with not just one track, you got like 10 tracks to go off of. But I mean that's cool. I mean that you do that. Like you don't post on social media. You like your stories. You do like 30 posts at one time. Some people pace themselves, on stories. So like, what time do you get up?
I'm sitting down. It's like I'm in the workshop grinding, and then I'll sit down because I just need a break from the noise, and I'll go bang, bang, bang. I'll put up 5 posts. Posts and stories, and Instagram's been an amazing platform for the arts.
Yeah,
an incredible platform. It's a visual thing. It's incredible.
No, it really is.
It has a massive reach. I mean, you and Troy Donovan are the only people I've ever met on an app.
That's true.
Ever, otherwise it's out there. You're meeting people hand to hand in real time. It's I
think you're constantly seeing things like you observe something like a random thing.
That's called inquisitive, isn't it? Well,
but it's beautiful in that shape, in that kind of story format. Yeah. It's a beautiful window. and people seeing that or I think should be inspired by that, or
Yeah,
see
but
that diversity of imagery.
I think stories let's just talk about Instagram for a moment. Yeah, stories are the backstory behind the post. So if you're rolling through life, and people are interested, they've invested in you as an artist and they've bought your work, they're interested in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that gives them a kind of a backstory to how you're viewing the world, or how their sculpture evolved, or what's driving you or motivating you at any given point. There's beautiful things all over everywhere all the time visually. And there's the mundane, which are beautiful as well.
You mentioned the other day you got 2 daughters.
Juna and Zaza. So Juna and Zaza. I had Juna in 96. Before 96, I was working on paper, just drawing. Very graphic, kind of beautiful, undulating form. Drawing is all about essentially the female form or female figure. And then in 96, I got off paper and started working 3-dimensionally. Still the same kind of roly-poly, figurative works, and then from there I kind of started working much more geographically, or much more not geographically, abstract, if you like, for a better word. Juna in 96, and then Zaza came along in 2000.
And they changed your life?
Dude, totally. They've cost me a fortune. More to the point, that what they gave me was the best things I've ever created, or have a part of creating with their mum. Mm-hmm. Also, they gave me they taught me what love was, which I didn't really know before that.
What is love, by the way?
What is love?
Yeah.
Love is what you have for your kids. It's unconditional, and it's amazing. It doesn't. It's amazing. It's hard work, but it's amazing. Mm. Before that, I didn't really know.
Mm. And you're still close with them now?
Yeah, I talk with them all the time, every other day. Juna's living in London, working in design. Zaza's in Phillip Island, surfing, living the life of a 22-year-old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And they come and stay with you in Bondi?
They come to Bondi, I don't let them stay with me. I don't want to live with my children.
Yeah?
No. But I love them.
Sensible.
Yeah, I don't want.
Well, they're at the age.
I don't. Yeah, they're adults.
Yeah. What do you get up to when you're off? When you're not working?
When I'm not working.
Yeah. Or is it work? Maybe it's not work.
I think if the sun's shining and if it's too hot to go to work, I'll go to the beach and swim, and that's kind of off is asleep in the sand at the beach. That's off. Other than that, it's on.
It's funny you said, I had a similar situation the other day. I went and got my blood test done. I do it every year.
Yep, same.
And my vitamin D levels are incredibly high.
Yeah, high vitamin D levels through the roof.
Yeah. And the doctor didn't put 2 and 2 together?
No, I'm standing there like brown ass, sparkly blue eyes, and he's like, "You've got a very high vitamin D." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit, Sherlock."
Obviously, vitamin D is really good for one's mood, right? So that's probably it's a positive thing.
It's totally a positive thing.
There's the issue around skin cancer.
Yeah. Well, get in the shade. Get a brolly.
Yeah.
Put a hat on.
Yeah. Let's just talk about art too. Like, what other artists do you love?
Oh, what other artists do I love?
Yeah. Because you collect.
I collect art. I collect books and art and records,
cars and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff. Teeth, skulls, friends. What kind of other artists? Right now, I couldn't. There's the classics. There's Brancusi and Noguchi. There's Richard Blackwell, and a really dear friend of mine. Peter Lundberg, and a dear friend of mine. Stephen Ormandy. Phil James, Fun Skull, Brooklyn Whelan. I mean, where do I go? It's kind of like there's my life's full of Kate Bonanzi, Kate Ballas. There's a ton of really incredibly talented people out there.
Incredible. And what's your link with Bondi Icebergs? Because you're in there a hell of a lot.
Well, for Morris.
Yeah.
It's I've been going there for a while, and I just through the staff, I've got to know through going there repetitively and then having a couple of friends, a couple of guys in there who were from New Zealand and kind of bonding with them. Matty Opai, incredibly smart guy, super cool dude. Through him, and then him asking, "What do you do?" I go, "I work with steel." And I go, "This," and then I get a phone call. "Can you come and fix this?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" Or Maury's like, "Can you make me a sculpture for this?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I can do that." It's kind of
that's cool.
So that's my connection with the Bergs. It's a really amazing place, the Bergs. It's incredible. It's unique.
Yeah. But it kind of sums it up. It's like the hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, I used to have my on my Instagram was fuck yeah. It was like, fuck yeah, I'll do that. It wasn't. It was like, yeah, I'm excited. It's kind of.
But nothing's too difficult.
I'll say yes. I'll go fuck yeah or hell yeah. I can do that. Or I'll do that. But then you kind of like work out how to do it after.
Yeah. Why did I say that?
Yeah. Well, not even why did I say that. It was just kind of the deadline comes. And it's looming, and you have to work out how to do it.
But it's like kind of thing. You kind of wanted to come around to my place, and you talk about your brand and everything. And you said, "I'm going to make you some food. I'm going to make you some food." And you turn up with a barbecue. Like you don't just turn up and say.
Well, you said your barbecue hadn't been used for a while, so I was just like, "Okay, I've got to bring a barbecue. I need gas. I need. I'm going to bring everything. I brought everything."
But who does that?
I do that.
No, I know, but nobody else would do that.
Yeah, people do that. My friends do that.
Yeah. Well, do they?
Yeah.
I feel guilty.
Like now. Scotty does that.
Does he?
You haven't invited me over for dinner yet or lunch.
All right.
I've invited myself to your place for lunch.
Well, no, you have, and it's like, but I love that. I love the fact that you did that. Not only did you just do that, I would just go to Uber or something, Uber Eats or something, but. No. You made it. It's fresh. It's like incredible.
I don't even have Uber Eats or any of the food apps on my phone.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You're just so perfect, aren't you? So, Kettlebell Training. What was the name of the street again? Well, no, we're not going to say what the name of the street is. But let's just talk about how that started. We've got a kettlebell sitting here.
So the kettlebell started
COVID.
During COVID, yeah. So I've been training with bells for quite a long time with a guy called Peter Kirk, incredible trainer, down at the Icebergs gym, incredible gym. COVID came. And Adam, a friend of ours, came over, and Scotty, and we were training in the backyard. And my girlfriend at the time, who I was living with, was like, "You guys can't train here. You're not socially distancing. The neighbours are going to complain. We're going to get done. You need to go out." And we couldn't train in the driveway because it was the same thing. So at the end of the street, there's like a big roundabout. It's like a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
So we went from me and one other to me and 30. I think there's 40 of us on the chat now.
Yeah.
Like you said, there'd be anything from me to someone else or me to 30 guys or 40 guys. Yeah, it's incredible. But it grew through necessity. We had to social distance, so we could.
Yeah.
We didn't need any equipment. It was really basic. It's just the bells. It can be as hard as you want it to be.
Yeah.
You can pick up an 8 all the way through to a 40, which is the heaviest we've got.
And I remember the first time I went, like I turn up there and then like majority of you guys take your tops off before you even get hot. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, it's on the fine print at the bottom.
I clearly wasn't ready for that. Moment. A year later, I did take my top off the other day. You had it off
the other night.
But it was just literally as the bell went. I was like, damn it, I took it off before the bell went.
It's not. I think that the reality of what's happened and what's been created is that it's a community of men who haven't either time poor, they've got young families, they're body conscious, or there's a myriad of different reasons why they won't go to a gym and train. Whereas in that space, you're safe. There's no ego stays at the roundabout at the bottom of the street, and we train together. It's not we sledge each other once. That sledging and that kind of the camaraderie that comes after. There's no malice in any of it. It's a bunch of guys. All at all different levels, all training, all walks of life,
and just kind of come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in the street, which has worked out really well because you don't really want the neighbours complaining, and they're not going to complain if they're part of the gang. It's just like it's perfect.
But it's just so simple when I think about all the things I've done in my past, like all the kind of exercise routines, gyms and memberships and stuff, and you go, well, actually, all you need is one kettlebell.
Well, you need a few. But
I actually do, when I'm not training with you guys, I actually do it at home just with one
No, I know
16
you've
or
got.
20.
I know you've got a 16, a 20, and a 24, and a 28.
But it's just it's like it's just so simple.
It is.
And strength training.
Yeah.
Is proven to be one of the best things you can do for your general well-being.
Yeah.
And life longevity.
Life quality.
Yeah. I mean, it hurts at first, but it kind of gets better.
Yeah, what doesn't?
Yeah. But it absolutely changed my life. And
it's changed my life. It's saved my life. That's the bottom line. It really has.
Yeah, but I mean, you're there twice. It's like it's every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday morning.
Yeah.
You're there mostly the morning session at 6 a.m. and then 6 p.m.
Yep.
Like, so you're the constant. I think the whole thing would have fallen apart ages ago if you hadn't been the one that... It must be a bit of a responsibility for you.
Yeah, but it's something that it's something I really treasure and respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. If someone's going to turn up, I'll be there for them.
Yeah.
Because it's the hardest part is just turning up.
But what is it in you that makes you feel that? Like that you feel that because you really are helping people. Do you realize that that's what you're doing?
No, I'm not. I'm doing
You're
it.
making it happen.
I'm just doing it for my therapist would probably say I'm doing it for people pleasing, or I'm doing I don't know. It's kind of it's probably a little bit more. There's probably a bit more to it than just turning up. For me.
Well, it feels more. It feels genuine. Like it feels.
Yeah, it is genuine.
It's incredibly genuine.
It is genuine.
I didn't realize there was more to it than that. No, but I mean, it's in a way, in a world where people tend to kind of keep to themselves these days, to have someone who's actually looking out for you. If you don't come one session, you give us, you message someone or the guys, hey, how you doing? You okay? Just checking in with you. Like that's all very genuine. And
it is.
No one's paying you to do that.
No,
it's coming from
money.
the bottom of your heart. Which is really, really cool. So in terms of kind of, were you that resilience that is there clearly? Is that something you just learned over from a small child to utilize that?
Survival, not right.
Yeah,
you've resilience. Fuck. Like I said earlier, my childhood was hectic, and survival was. It's not even an option. You don't really think about surviving. It's more, I think when I was 15, I didn't think I was going to get to 21. At 21, I didn't think I was going to get to turning 56. No big picture, no plan. It was more just day to day, in the moment, live now, which is probably, that comes through in all of this. It comes through with the kettlebells, checking in on you. It's now, it's present. Oh yeah, how's Vinny? What's happening? Yeah, it's kind of.
That's such a good point.
It's much more. It's a much more. Resilience is. I don't know if resilience is. I've ever really thought about that. It's more survival.
Mm. Does that mean that you really value the now? Like
the 100%.
So 100%. Good food, good people.
Now
putting your energy in the right places.
Yeah.
So then, what when we talk about, do you sleep well? I mean, sleep well and eating well and all that.
Sleep is probably the most elusive out of all of the things that I need to do. Mm-hmm. I drink lots of water. I eat healthy food. I prepare everything myself. I'll go out to restaurants, the Icebergs.
Yeah,
but it's
plug.
Yeah, I don't get There's nothing in my fridge or my cupboard that I can just eat, apart from cheese. It's more.
How long has that cheese been there?
Sorry?
How long has that cheese been there?
Yesterday. I buy cheese all the time.
Okay, cool.
But I think the life is it's a gift. It's a gift.
Mm.
It's
actually just talk about how, because you're always on, and of course being always on at such a full force as you are, that when you're not, you must really feel it. A lot of people aren't able to kind of get that momentum or the energy around moving forward and being kind of doing an incredible amount of stuff. You manage to pack it in. Like, how would you advise people who are stuck, how they might, make that first step forward, to kind of build up that kind of start momentum?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm driven. I don't suffer from, depression or anxiety. I'm raging ADHD.
Yeah, whatever that was.
Yeah, whatever that big one.
That long one.
All the D's,
Yeah.
OCD and all the D's. But
Yeah.
it's so depression and anxiety, not so much. Anxiety sometimes, but only around money. But moving forward and keeping moving, I think. It's not as easy as I could just say, just get up, just do it.
Yeah.
I could say that, but it's not. It's hard for some people.
You did in the beginning. You said you love making and being in the workshop, making stuff.
I can do that.
Yeah.
If I'm like, like creativity, I don't think I would never pull out of my hat. I'm not feeling creative today. If I'm feeling lazy, I'm just going to call it. Otherwise, I go to the workshop.
Yeah.
If I'm stuck, I'm in the workshop sweeping the floor.
Yeah.
Because then I'm still in that space. I'm still in my world, and I'm able to. If the piece that I'm stuck on doesn't come to me, something else will, or the floor's very clean.
Yeah.
That's why if I'm not feeling, I'm never going to say I'm feeling uninspired. Because
Have you got
life's
kettlebells
inspiring.
in there?
No, I don't have any kettlebells in there, but I work with steel. It's heavy. I've got a vomitron in there.
What's that?
It's the
Air
bike.
Yeah.
air bike. Killer.
Where do you see your practice in 5 years' time? Have you thought that far ahead?
No. Honestly, no. My practice in 5 years' time, I'm pretty much doing the same. Pushing. I'd like to have a show every 2 years. Have a much more of an international presence.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a broader reach.
Yeah, because in Australia you're incredibly well known, and
Possibly within people who buy art or in the design, but it's not. Incredibly well known in Australia is Uluru, or the Great Barrier. That are incredibly known. It's not.
But anyone listening in,
you're incredibly well known.
Thank
Everyone
you.
I know knows you or knows of you.
I'm not a Bondi icon.
But you're a branding design icon.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, damn it. But we want to help you kind of get your work in Europe and America. It'd be really cool to see it there, because I think
awesome.
they're a much bigger audience as well.
Yeah, huge.
Have you designed your life?
Yeah, good question. I design everything I live on and live in. I make, design, and live in. I consciously think about what I wear and how I'm driving and what I drive. And I don't know if I've designed my life in the sense of, the pain and the love and all those things. But, the physicality of my life, I'm consciously aware of it. And I consciously try to design that, yes. But the actual life part, where I'm falling apart emotionally or I'm confused or I'm lost, I don't know so much about that.
It seems to me like you're the beach.
The ocean's a real
Keeps you,
anchor.
Yeah, real anchor.
The ocean's a real anchor.
And your art.
Yeah. Between those two things, they are my anchors.
Yeah.
They are my rocks. They are my base. And then, then I have my two daughters.
Yeah.
My kids, who kind of if all those boxes are ticked, like love and creativity and work and the ocean, that's all that. So
that's
bang, solid.
That's interesting too. Like Eugene, who was on my podcast a while back, Aquabumps.
Yep.
His art is the ocean.
Yeah.
But your art is a workshop in Leichhardt.
Yeah.
So it's not
so far removed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting, that, isn't it? That they are they separate as much as we think they are? Like, or are they?
No.
Is the Bondi where you retreat, where you kind of rejuvenate?
The Bondi, the ocean's where I retreat and rejuvenate, but it's also this magic place. Like I swim every day, and I jump in the water with my mates, and I'm like, I asked someone the other day, when you dive underwater, are your eyes open or closed? And they go, closed. I'm like, what the fuck? It's closed. You'll swim with your eyes closed. It's like, that's
surely
like
we see sharks.
Yeah, that's like walking with your eyes closed. I couldn't imagine, but swimming underwater with your eyes open, the light's magical, and the way the light comes through the ocean, the water, it's just insane. It's kind of, and that's the same for me in this space, because really I'm just playing with light. I'm just kind of capturing all,
true.
It's just, so they're not that dissimilar.
No. Let's clarify, when you say swimming.
Teabagging.
Yeah, exactly. I saw you the other day do that.
Teabagging. I jump in, I dive under, I look around for a minute, I go, wow, this is amazing. And then I get out.
It was a second.
Yeah, well, no, I bob up and down like I pretend I'm a dolphin, go, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh, jeez. Dion, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Vince. Thanks very much. It's an honor and a privilege.
Oh, thanks, dude. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Design Your Life with my good mate and incredibly talented artist, Dion Horstmans. Tune to the next episode with Dan Higson and Nick West, the duo behind the critically acclaimed sound and music studio, Smith & Western, heavily influencing the world of sonic branding.